Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here, and now some of you are going to get a chuckle out of this one because it's like, say it ain't so. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in a couple videos a while ago. Freak cold snap in biggest coffee exporter sparks huge price surge. Now it's funny because I do have a job where I show up and there are people that don't want to listen to me because I've been saying the same thing for 10 years. I sound like a broken record because I talk about inflation. And good news is I've been right. For the last 10 years, we've seen inflation. Weird. Prices have went up. And I don't care at what point. There's a lot of people that lie to themselves. They don't believe it, but it's true. Time over after time, as more currency is devalued, debased, whatever way we want to say it, things get more expensive. Sure, it's a penny here, a penny there. Before you know it, it's getting huge. Well, I actually went to work. Everybody was thinking about buying some coffees. They're having this big coffee war at work, One group's got fancy coffee. It's all coming out of a special fund. The other group thinks they're getting, messed over because their coffee is not as good as the fancy coffee on the other side of the group. And so I said, who cares what kind of coffee you get? Why don't you, and this was literally 2 weeks ago, why don't you, and I haven't read this article yet, where I'm doing this pretty much live, like raw, right? Why don't you go buy a bunch of coffee, because I don't care what kind of coffee it is, it's going to explode in price by this fall. I'm not kidding. Like, this really happened, and I had no clue that this was going to happen. I just figured we were going to see a crazy run up on the future. So here we go. This is on the hedge. I'm going to link the article below, but we're just going to go over some points and talk about it. On Tuesday, a wicked cold snap with temperatures dropping below zero delivered a massive blow to farmers across Brazil's coffee belt, damaging trees and destroying next year's crop. Now, guys, I'm going to get into more food destruction and what you're about to see in the next coming couple of months from now, okay? And we're talking about the heat wave, but we're going to focus on the coffee because the ninja likes his coffee. I mean, how are we going to do coffee with the ninja in the morning, everybody, if I don't have my coffee? So it says here, temperature in Brazil's coffee-growing regions recorded negative 1.2 Celsius, which is negative 29 degrees Fahrenheit. Can I ask you, have you ever thought that you would hear of that? A negative temperature in South America? No, but that's where we're at now in life. We're seeing crazy, massive disruption in our farm belt and in our Midwest. Where we are seeing crops dying off, and it's funny. There's a lot of naysayers. They're like, "Oh, there's heat waves all the time." I said, "Nah, you should probably wake up and actually turn on the real news. Like things like these websites, and see what's really happening in real time. I don't care what the crop report said a couple weeks back, because that had to do with a couple months back. Watch what's happening right now, and what's happening is record-breaking temperatures now, not only to the upside but to the downside." It says. This was the coldest since 1994. So it happens, right? But there's something different happening these days. It says right here, a coffee farm in a central region of Minas, Brazil, crops blackened by frost, and it shows the actual die-off of the actual coffee bean crops, right? That's a lot of crops that just died. Futures for the beans in New York soared more than 7.5%. Thursday, since Tuesday's frost, futures prices are up more than 23%. All right, so since Tuesday's frost, futures prices are up more than 23%. I want to share with you a little secret. This isn't the end of this cycle. I just want you to understand that, because what's happening is there are a lot of small mom and pop companies, and I actually have a friend that owns a pretty good coffee roasting company. And a few months ago, I guarantee you he's not listening to this video, I told him, I said, you need to stock up on a year's supply of coffee, and you are going to crush it on margins, because you're going to experience something. He didn't even want to talk to me about it. Like, all right, whatever. And his whole livelihood depends on coffee beans. Well, the thing is, and I'm telling you, there's going to be a day where you're going to see a $12 cup of coffee. I don't know if it's going to be this year or next year. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if it was next year. Mark that down and let everybody make fun of it. I could care less. But it's good to have a little bit of a record of what you're saying. This isn't the end of this cycle, because there's a lot of mom and pop shops that are going to start buying coffee from their suppliers. And what they're going to notice is that these their suppliers are going to say, hey, we're having a pinch right now on supply, because the big boys are coming up and buying up everything we got. And what's happening is some suppliers are completely clueless. When something happens in a one-day event, there's some suppliers that are literally out to lunch. They're literally out vacationing. They don't know. Before they know, they got a bunch of orders and like, sweet, they sell their coffee and then they go look at the future price. I've seen this with precious metals dealers, and they go, oh my gosh, what just happened? And it's pretty impressive. So this isn't the end of this. So, you know, obviously people are putting pictures of the frostbite plants. This really is what it looks like. I actually live in a region that gets frostbite plants, and this is exactly what the die-off looks like. And honestly, a lot of people don't understand exactly how it happens, but these plants now can no longer photosynthesize at the rate that they need to because of the size of the plant. If you cut off a plant, you know, 50% of a plant's ability to photosynthesize because they've been now burned, just like our skin gets burned and it can't protect you enough, these plants can't survive. They're going to die. So how does this play in? And I'm going to end this real quick. How does this play in with the whole Midwest thing? This is a pretty quick snap that just happened, and what is going very widely reported is the amount of crops that have died off last month with the massive heat wave that hit Washington, I think Idaho, and parts of Montana. It was absolutely crazy. It was when I was up there, we literally saw over 110 degrees up there, and the crops that grow there are not made to survive that. And it could only be a one-day event, and your crop's gone. It's done. It doesn't have to be a sustained heat wave, whereas this was an absolutely just insane hit. Now, I'm going to tell you something that people don't really realize. Even though it said up above that this last cold snap happened in the early 90s, you may not have seen a reaction like you're seeing and you're about to see in the next couple of weeks in the coffee market, because back then the coffee market wasn't as big as it is now. So where you see this photo right here, I can almost guarantee that there are photos out here like this that in 1994, this was just unused raw land. All right. So the facts are, you not only have that truth, that fact, there's more coffee drinkers today, thank Starbucks for that. But also you can think of it in the aspect that the ability to, like this, see a photo of literally days after the event, you can rile markets a lot easier because that's proof, as opposed to how information was traded before this, you know, in the early 90s. Remember, the internet was brand new, and I mean, you were practically looking at almost like a dot matrix kind of setup for the internet. And so it's a whole different world here, and there's so much more access to cheap liquidity to be able to speculate in markets. You're going to see, I think, some impressive stuff that happens in the coffee markets in the coming weeks. So I guess I'm going to dedicate this video to my coworkers that just didn't listen, and now they're going to whine even more about the high prices of coffee. So with that being said, guys, I thank you so much. The Economic Ninja is out.